The day her life cracked open, the sky above Jerusalem was impossibly blue, so blue it mocked her. Life has a cruel sense of humor. Tragedies rarely arrive wrapped in storm clouds. Most heartbreak happens under sunshine. She stood at the doorway of her crumbling home, holding a piece of parchment her landlord had shoved into her hands. She didn't need to read it to know what it meant. The emptiness in her mother's eyes, the debt collector's footsteps circling their street, the smell of famine sneaking into their neighborhood. She had seen this future long before the parchment arrived. Her mother lay inside, too weak to stand. Her father had already been taken by illness, and she, once an innocent girl with laughter bright, enough to soften stone, had been left with nothing but the weight of survival. That night, when her mother's breathing finally ceased, the world became unbearably quiet. She buried her with her own hands, because funerals cost money she no longer had. She pressed her forehead to the cold soil and whispered the smallest prayer. Lord, if you see me, give me strength. If you don't, then at least give me courage to endure what is coming. Courage was indeed given, but so was hardship. The first man who approached her spoke gently, too gently. Hungry wolves always do. He told her she was beautiful enough to earn a living, a sentence that should have tasted like poison, but instead tasted like bread to her starving stomach. She didn't say yes because she wanted to. She said yes because poverty doesn't negotiate, and so began the life she hated. Nights blurred together, faces blurred together. Her dignity felt like water slipping through clenched fingers. But here is the irony. Heaven never overlooks. Though she lived in shadows, she prayed. Though she was used, she whispered scripture. Though she wore shame, she tied it with hope. She prayed not that men would stop coming, but that God would not stop watching. She prayed not to erase her past, but to survive it long enough to have a future, Lord. Don't leave me. She would whisper between tears that no one ever saw, and heaven heard every word, but the world did not. The world is deaf to the prayers of the desperate. It only hears the rumors of the judgmental. Her reputation spread faster than her grief. People pointed at her with hands that had never held compassion. Women whispered as she passed, guarding their husbands like she was a wildfire waiting to ignite. Men treated her as though she had made herself an object rather than having been pushed into objecthood by hunger. Yet, every night, she knelt beside her bed, even when that bed was a borrowed mat in a rented room, and prayed the same fragile prayer. God, if redemption exists, please don't forget me when you pass blessings out. She did not know that redemption himself was already walking the same streets as her. The morning they dragged her to Jesus, she had slept less than an hour, not from fear, nor from sin, but from exhaustion. She had decided the night before that she was done. She would leave the life she hated. She would start over, even if starting over meant sweeping floors, washing linen, or begging for scraps like the elderly outside the temple. Anything was better than the hollow ache of being used like a thing. She promised herself that sunrise would be her new beginning. But sunrise brought Pharisees, not salvation. They tore her from her room, their hands rough, their voices filled with false righteousness. Men who had visited her in darkness now condemned her in daylight. They marched her through the street, shouting her crime like soldiers announcing a victory. She stumbled, but no one helped her up. She cried, but no one wiped her tears. Her heart cracked again, but no one heard the sound when they threw her before Jesus. Dust clung to her skin like accusation, her hair tangled, her breath ragged, her soul trembling. But then he bent toward her, and in that bending, heaven bent with him. Most people remember his famous line, "Let the one without sin cast the first stone." But what she remembered what she would carry until her final breath was the softness in his eyes when he looked at her. Really looked at her, as though she were not filth, but a daughter, as though her story mattered, as though her survival was not sinful, but sacred. In that moment, she realized something astonishing. Jesus did not see the woman she had been. He saw the woman she could become. When the accusers fled, Jesus spoke gently, yet firmly. "I do not condemn you. Walk away from this shadow. Not for them, but for yourself." It was the first command she obeyed willingly in years. But that was not the end of her journey. It was the beginning of one far harder. She carried something inside her now, something that had begun growing months earlier. Something she feared and loved and did not know how to name. Her child, her son, her unexpected second chance. She had done everything alone, conceived alone, suffered alone, prayed alone. But from the moment Jesus lifted her from the dust, she never again felt completely alone. She worked the simplest jobs. She ate the smallest meals. She smiled the smallest smiles. But her joy when she pressed a hand to her growing belly was vast, immeasurable. People didn't celebrate her pregnancy. They questioned it. They mocked it. They whispered that her child would be just like her. Jesus, however, saw differently. One afternoon, months later, he passed by and found her selling thread on a small mat beside the market. Her belly full and round beneath her robe, her face thinner, but her eyes brighter than ever before. She gasped when she saw him, nearly knocking over her basket. He smiled. "You've walked far," he said. "Only because you lifted me first," she replied. He placed a hand steady on her shoulder. "Your child," he said softly, "will rise higher than the shame you were thrown into." She cried then, not from sadness, but from being seen again. Motherhood was not easy. It was a daily crucifixion of fear, a constant battle against loneliness, a nightly prayer whispered into the hair of a sleeping infant. She learned to sew, to clean, to carry water until her back ached, to shield her son from every cruel whisper that tried to reach his small ears. And Jesus watched over them, not always in person, not always with miracles, sometimes with silence, but a holy silence, a protective silence. She raised her son to be gentle in a world that was not, to be truthful in a world full of lies, to be compassionate in a world that had none for her. Some nights she would hold him close and whisper, "You are not my shame, you are my salvation." And heaven whispered back, "You both are mine." If the world had known what Jesus knew, if society had understood what heaven understood, they would have honored her, not for how she fell, but for how she rose, slowly, painfully, bravely, with a child in her arms and faith in her bones. She was not just redeemed, she was rebuilt. She was not just forgiven, she was transformed. She was not just lifted, she learned to lift others. And Jesus, watching her journey unfold like a sunrise after a long night, said quietly to his disciples, "One day, holiness is not found in those who never fall. Holiness is found in those who rise and teach others to rise with them."